This is the Glenn Beck Program. We're glad you're here. We wanted to get Tom Fitton on. He is the president of Judicial Watch. Wow, he's got a lot to watch right now. Tom, how are you, sir?
Hey, Glenn. Good to be with you.
Yeah, thank you. So what have we learned now, besides our government is completely out of control? What have we learned?
Well, we've just had further confirmation of it. It took, 3 or 4 days for the Attorney General to tell us nothing about the unprecedented and reckless raid, an abusive raid on President Trump's home. I mean, if this is about a records case, we know that the raid is baseless because Judicial Watch has had litigation on these very issues before. And we went, and people may not know this, but Bill Clinton had a recordation of interviews that he kept in his sock drawer, and the recording recorded him talking to foreign leaders and members of Congress. So, the material was necessarily classified and sensitive and government records, right, in the typical sense of the word. And we said, this is the sort of record that should be covered by the Presidential Records Act, right? And the court said, wrong. The president has ultimate discretion as to what to categorize as presidential records versus personal records, and we can't get behind that. So that was the position of the court and the Justice Department, and they've changed their position because why? It's Trump. So, the president has discretion to take records with him, and the Justice Department knows that. So I just want to highlight that all the noise we're hearing about this is noise, which is they wanted an excuse to target and abuse the president again. And that's what they did. And the noise you're hearing about records is pretextual.
So, Tom, let me ask you. They came out yesterday and said, well, we thought maybe he'd have pictures of really scary clowns, but he's got more. He has nuclear secrets. What? How do they expect anyone to believe this?
Well, and especially after Garland said, well, we can't tell anyone what's behind this, right? And then they start leaking the smear operation, engaging in the smear operation against Trump. No one really seriously believes it. And, this is why it's urgent that we get the documents. We were first out of the gate to request that the court unseal these materials. There have been some important first steps. Garland was pressured into agreeing to at least some of the materials being released. It looks like President Trump is going to sign on to that as well. But we need all the facts there. But practically speaking, we should take a step back, Len, and look at this as part of a pattern of conduct of this FBI and Justice Department targeting political enemies based on policy disputes and their threats politically to the incumbent president in office, or the interests of the party that's been running the show largely at the DOJ, which is a Democratic party. This isn't necessarily ideological, too. Obviously there are left-wingers over there, but they're a bunch of partisans. The Justice Department is run by Democrats, and I don't say that because I'm a Republican or I'm trying to make a partisan point. It's an objective fact, and let's stop pretending otherwise.
So I read a disturbing report today that talks about how these American historians have just met with Joe Biden to warn him that we are on the edge of losing the republic. And I'm sure that those historians think it's because of white Christian national extremists, after their PTA meetings, or I guess getting nuclear secrets from Donald Trump and building a bomb in Mar-a-Lago. But I think when I read that this morning, I thought that's absolutely true. Most likely not for the reasons they say, but we are at the edge. I mean, we're at either the end or the beginning of a new chapter of freedom. And that one seems a little far-fetched to me. They have all of the levers of power, and they are not afraid to use them.
Yeah, they're hurtling towards despotism. That's pretty clear what the administration is doing. And when you see language like that out of the left, what they're trying to do is construct a moral and legal and other rationale for targeting their political opposition. When you start when the president starts hearing from leftist historians that these are like the days before the Civil War, well, what is the response to that? Well, maybe we should act like that and start targeting our political opponents accordingly. And for all of the noise and concerns that the Judicial Watch has, I know that you have, Glenn, about the current state of affairs, we're not calling for mass arrests of our political opponents.
No.
We're asking that prosecutions and the rule of law be applied fairly, and that they follow the rules and at least do a normal investigation. With them, we have to arrest hundreds. If you speak out against the election, we consider you to be a potential terrorist. If you speak out about school curriculum, we consider you to be a terrorist. If you exercise the prerogatives presidents since the beginning of time and our history have exercised, we're going to raid your home. These are dangerous times for our republic, and it's because of that attitude, those historians are that story and that narrative that's being pushed with Biden and by Biden that we're in these dangerous times.
I don't think what's really frightening is this week when I heard about the raid on Mar-a-Lago. And do we know for sure if they did not show did not hand the search warrant over to the attorney? I've been told that they did give it to him. Then I heard that they only gave it to him afterwards. I've heard that she was told you can see it, but you have to be 10 feet away. It is by law they must hand you the signed search warrant so you can verify it and look at it. You don't necessarily get all the attachments, but you do get the search warrant. Did they actually serve it to the attorney at Mar-a-Lago?
Well, I'm as confused as you are about the circumstances. I mean, typically, and they're supposed to at least leave it at the residence. Sometimes they give it to you at the beginning. Sometimes they drop it on the floor as they're leaving. But, it depends how professional the FBI decides to be. And remember, there are reports where there were at least 3 Justice Department attorneys there, which adds to the unusual nature of the attack on the president's home. And I do think it's an attack. When you're doing something that has no lawful or reasonable basis, you're engaging in an attack on the civil liberties of the target.
So the frightening thing is, when I was reading about this, I thought, I don't even know what to do if they would come to my house. ATF is now starting to do this. We have the IRS coming at people with the president. If they'll do this to a former president, they'll do this to anybody. What do you do when somebody comes and has a search warrant? Do I have the right to say, I must see the search warrant before you come in? And it's fine if you're going to come in. I just want to make sure it's legal. I want to read the search warrant and see the judge's signature.
Well, I'm no lawyer, and I'm not going to be providing you legal advice other than to consult with your lawyer if you have genuine concerns about it. But, cooperation is usually the best remedy, at least initially, and then you figure out what to do after, unfortunately, the damage is done. But certainly prominent public officials and individuals like yourself, this is what they hope. They hope that people like you are nervous, Glenn.
Oh, I'm not nervous. I just want to know.
No, but the point being, if you're worried or wondering what to do in the case of a raid, that's mission accomplished as far as they're concerned.
So, Tom,
because their goal is to make you nervous and to make you think, well, what is it I'm doing that might cause them to come after me? Maybe I'll do less of it, which is, of course, you restrict your own free speech.
Yeah. I'm not doing anything. They're doing it. So, Tom, what is it that we need to find out? What is it that you guys are focused on that we need to find out that would further this case in a place to where you have an answer?
Well, the basis for the raid is obviously going to be key, and although my caution would be is they're going to have checked all the boxes to get a judge to agree to it, and then people are going to argue over whether that was valid or not. From our perspective, we should just recognize that this was all pretextual. the debate about records is interesting, but almost irrelevant when you recognize that you don't raid the president's home over the issue they're talking about. You do it because you're making a political point. And if that's the case, and I think it is the case, then you say, why is it we have an FBI? What is the Justice Department actually supposed to be doing? Let's cut their funding in half.
Mm-hmm.
Let's rethink how the FBI operates, generally speaking, because clearly those two agencies can't be trusted to handle politically sensitive investigations. That's for sure.
Tom Fitton, thank you. Thank you for all the work you guys do at Judicial Watch. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
You bet. JudicialWatch.org.